Looking for a way to support the channel? Check out the official MTG Goldfish playmats like Fatal Scoops at mtggoldfishmerch.com/YouTube. Use the coupon code YouTube for 5% off. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Brewer's Minute. So this week, we are going to talk a little bit about the London Mulligan rule, but we're going to do this in a way that actually looks into how this Mulligan rule matters. So we're going to take the most extreme example of a deck in the modern format, Zombie Hunt, an infamous budget deck, one of the jankiest decks around, and we are going to run it through some paces using the new Mulligan rule, using an opening hand generator, and see how much this rule actually matters for the most extreme cases, the most all-in of all iniest decks in the modern format, and see how much the rule actually impacts the deck, how big of a change it makes, how consistent the deck becomes with the new rule. So that is our plan for today, running some London Mulligan rule tests with Zombie Hunt. And a quick reminder before we break down the deck, get into the test, if you enjoy Brewer's Minute and the other series here on the channel, it would be amazing of you if you could take a second, click that subscribe button down at the bottom of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So before we get to the test, we got to talk a little bit about Zombie Hunt. If you don't know how this deck works. So Zombie Hunt is one of the most extreme deck building oddities in the modern format. So Zombie Hunt, it cares about one thing. You need a treasure hunt, preferably with enough lands to cast it. Treasure Hunt is this weird sorcery that lets you essentially draw cards from the top of your deck until you hit a non-land. So this deck is trying to make it so Treasure Hunt is super devastating because the only non-land cards we have in this deck are more Treasure Hunts. We have the full 4 copies and 2 copies of Zombie Infestation. So the idea is we mulligan until we find Treasure Hunt, we cast Treasure Hunt with 2 mana, we draw either into another Treasure Hunt, which lets us just run it back the next turn, or we draw into our Zombie Infestation. Zombie Infestation lets us discard 2 cards, which is going to be all those lands we're drawing, because we're drawing like 10 cards, 20 cards every Zombie Hunt. So we discard 2 cards to make a 2/2 zombie. So the idea is, turn 2 we Treasure Hunt, turn 3 we Zombie Infestation, discard all those random lands that we drew, make like 20 power worth of zombies, and just kill our opponent right away. There is one more consideration to this deck, and that is Reliquary Tower. So Reliquary Tower is kind of combo piece number 2, while in theory we just need Treasure Hunt, like that's the card that we're mulliganing into. We really also want Reliquary Tower, if possible, to have no maximum hand size, because here's what happens is if we do have Reliquary Tower, we can just cast Treasure Hunt on turn 2, use like Island Reliquary Tower, we Treasure Hunt, we draw a bunch of cards, we get to keep those cards because of Reliquary Tower. On the other hand, if we don't have Reliquary Tower, we need to wait until turn 3 to Treasure Hunt, so we Treasure Hunt without playing a land on turn 3, and hopefully draw into Reliquary Tower, because if we have to discard all of those lands we draw to hand size, it ruins the whole point of playing Zombie Hunt. That just defeats the purpose, because we need all those cards to discard a Zombie Infestation. So that's the plan of the deck. So let's pull out this opening hand generator and see what happens when we run it through some paces. So this is the opening hand generator from tcgplayer.com, and this is what we're going to use for our test. So here's how this is going to work. So this opening hand generator will draw us a new 7-card hand every time we click draw another hand, and that's perfect. That's a good approximation of the new Mulligan rule, where we're going to draw 7 cards each time, the one that we're testing, the London Mulligan rule. On the other hand, to compare this to the old Mulligan rule, or current Mulligan rule, what we're going to do is every time we mulligan, we're going to pretend like, under the current rule, that we didn't draw the card furthest to the left. So let's say we have this 7-card hand. Instead, this was our mull to 6 hand, or 1 mulligan hand. This swamp would not technically be part of our hand. We would just have 6 cards in our hand, not including this swamp. If we mulled to 5 or mulled twice, we would not have this swamp or this island. Mulled to 4, we would not have any of these 3 cards. So that's how we're going to use it to compare to the current mulligan rule. This is also the perfect deck to do this with, because you can't keep hands with this deck based on the scry. You gotta mulligan to hit Treasure Hunt because you only have 4 relevant cards in your deck. So you literally mulligan all the way down to 1 card with this deck to find Treasure Hunt. So we're basically looking at how often we hit Treasure Hunt, how often we hit Treasure Hunt and Reliquary Tower. Also, how big of a difference is there when we're considering our mulligans with these cards slowly being cut off each time we mulligan? Are there hands where we're getting our Treasure Hunt and our Reliquary Tower down in these cards that technically we wouldn't get under the current mulligan rule because these cards would not be part of our hand? So ignore this hand. This was just a starting hand that popped up. Let's draw our first zombie hunt hand. So hand number 1, 7-card hand, no mulligans. We hit, all right, no Treasure Hunt. And in this deck, no Treasure Hunt, instant mulligan. You just can't do it. There's no way you can keep a hand without Treasure Hunt. So mulligan number 1, or mulligan to 6, we get... All right, again, no Treasure Hunt, so keep going, down to 5, or second mulligan. Okay, now we have a Treasure Hunt, and this hand is actually a huge example of the rule improving this deck. So we have our Treasure Hunt down here. So we keep this hand, we have to put 2 cards back, that's fine, we don't care. However, this Reliquary Tower, the Reliquary Tower is a card that is part of our 7-card hand with the new mulligan rule, the London mulligan rule. But see how it's way over on the right-hand side of the screen? This is one of the 2 cards we wouldn't have drawn under the current mulligan rule. So we would have Treasure Hunt under either mulligan rule, but we would not have our Reliquary Tower. So this hand is a snap keep, and it's all probably an instant win with Treasure Hunt. So what we do is we put back... Creeping Tar Pit, I don't even know, maybe we keep Creeping Tar Pit, put back like Island and Swamp, I guess, and we just turn 1 Creeping Tar Pit, turn 2 Reliquary Tower, Treasure Hunt, draw a million cards, hopefully we hit another Treasure Hunt, hopefully we hit a zombie infestation, a bunch of lands, play it, win the game, turn 3, turn 4 with all of our zombies. So let's try that again. That was a perfect example, though, of this rule being a huge improvement on gameplay. So let's draw another opening 7. No mulligans, first hand. No Treasure Hunt. All right, no Treasure Hunt means auto mulligan. So let's mull our first time, mull to 6, quote unquote. This hand... This is one of the hands that we would just keep. It's really hard to ship back Treasure Hunt hands, although I'm going to keep going in this case because I want to see if we can afford to be so greedy that we can try to mulligan for 2 specific cards rather than 1 specific card. So in the real world, if I was playing Zombie Hunt, I would just keep this Treasure Hunt hand. It's a turn 3 Treasure Hunt hand because we don't have Reliquary Tower. However, for the sake of this test, let's keep mulliganing and see if we hit Treasure Hunt plus Reliquary Tower. So this is our 5... Oh, there it is. Okay, step it off. Our second mulligan, our mull to 5, gives us exactly what we want. This is almost exactly the same hand as the first time. Treasure Hunt, Reliquary Tower. We put back 2 random lands. Turn 1 Tar Pit, turn 2 Reliquary Tower, Treasure Hunt. Turn 3, we hit more Treasure Hunts, our zombie infestation, go on to win the game. All right, so we are rewarded for our greed, although, to be fair, these are the 2 cards, Fairy Conclave and Island, that we wouldn't have under the current system, so we would have drawn into the Treasure Hunt Reliquary Tower under either mulligan system in this case, if we were greedy enough to keep going. However, I wouldn't have been greedy enough to keep going under the current mulligan rule system. Under the current mulligan rule system, if I see a Treasure Hunt, I am snap keeping. That's just how I would play the deck. Under the new mulligan rule system, I'm a little more comfortable being like, all right, like we're going to draw 7 again. We'll hit another Treasure Hunt. Let's spin the wheel, see if we get a Reliquary Tower too, because the number of cards in our hand is not relevant because we draw so many with Treasure Hunt. So, in some sense, the London mulligan rule did enable this hand because we wouldn't have mulliganed the 6-card hand under the current mulligan rule. So let's try again. Let's go to 7. Draw a new 7-card hand. See what we get. Treasure Hunt. All right, let's be greedy again. It worked last time. Again, under the current system, I would just snap keep this Treasure Hunt hand. Yes, we don't win until turn 3. Well, we don't Treasure Hunt until turn 3, which slows down our winning by a turn. But we do get to play a Treasure Hunt, but let's keep going. Hand number 2, all right, nothing. So this is our mull to 6 hand. Let's keep going, mull to 5. All right. This hand, I think I would just keep. We don't have a Reliquary Tower, but we have 2 Treasure Hunts. We can just put back, this is our mull to 5, so we put back 2 Swamps, and then keep the 2 Treasure Hunts. We could keep going. Actually, let's keep going, just for fun. I would keep this hand, but now we have our mull to 4 hand, no Treasure Hunt. How about our mull to 3 hand, no Treasure Hunt? How about our mull to 2 hand? And this is actually 100% fine. We went all the way down to 2, but we have land treasure hunt. It sets our deck is literally 54 lands. We're going to draw a land next turn. So we keep our treasure hunt. We keep a dual land in Watery Grave. 2-card hand. I actually feel very confident that this hand will work out. So we mulligan all the way to 2. And again, here you see, under the old system, we would not have this treasure hunt. We would not have any of these 5 cards. We would have Watery Grave and Swamp. Under the new system, we found a treasure hunt. It's easy. It's super easy drawing a 7-card hand each time. So again, the mulligan system allows us to be so greedy and have it work out. Let's try one more, maybe 1 or 2 more. 7-card hand, there's a treasure hunt, zombie infestation in hand. This is actually a pretty fine hand. I would probably keep it under the current system. We don't have Reliquary Tower though, so let's go to 6. Let's go to 6. See what we had. Treasure hunt, zombie infestation. I mean that hand's just as good as the first one, but let's go to 5. We're looking for that Reliquary Tower. Ooh, Reliquary Tower, no treasure hunt. So we got to go to 4. 4-card hand. Ooh, Reliquary Tower, no treasure hunt. 3. Oh, there it is. All right, we got there. We do not care that we only have 3 cards in our hand because we hit our combo pieces. We mulligan all the way to 3, so we put back Swamp, Fairy Conclave, Island, and Island. Turn 1, we Watery Grave. Turn 2, we play Reliquary Tower, Treasure Hunt. That's all the cards in our hand, but we don't care. We hit a Treasure Hunt, we hit a Zombie Infestation, we refill our hand, we win the game. And again, this is another hand where under the current mulligan system, we would not have Treasure Hunt. We would not have these 4 cards, but under the new mulligan system, the London mulligan system, we were able to be ultra greedy. We are consistently shipping back treasure hunt hands, which are like the holy grail of zombie hunt. You never mulligan a hand with treasure hunt. That's the only card that matters. But under the London mulligan, it's actually working out like pretty consistently. Sure, our sample size is really small, but we are being ultra greedy where we're having treasure hunt hands and be like, we can do better. Well, let's find Reliquary Tower and treasure hunt. And every single time, it's been paying off for us so far. So that is a huge shift in this deck. Let's try one more. Hand number 5. We click opening 7, all lands. Can't keep it, no treasure hunt. Go to 6, we get treasure hunt, no Reliquary Tower. Again, this is where I would keep under the current system. I would keep this hand and be like, all right, we got our treasure hunt. We got to wait 1 extra turn to try to find our Reliquary Tower. Got to wait till turn 3. But we can be greedy. And so far it's been paying off. So let's go to 5. And there, oh my goodness, and that's the perfect example. We mull to 5, and the 2 cards that we would not have in a real 5-card hand, a current 5-card hand, Treasure Hunt and Reliquary Tower, are the exact 2 cards that make this the perfect hand for our deck. Because if we actually only drew 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we would have had all lands. The hand is horrible. However, since we're drawing 7 each time, sure, the last 2 cards, the ones that wouldn't show up under the current mulligan rule, Treasure Hunt, Reliquary Tower, so the hand's absurd. We put back 2 random lands. Turn 1, we play a blue source. Turn 2, Reliquary Tower, Treasure Hunt. We're off to the races. We win the game. I have to say, I didn't try this before recording this video, and I'm amazed by how big of an impact this is having. Out of our 5 hands, which again, scientifically, very small sample size, keep that in mind, it is only 5 hands, but there are... Every single hand, we were able to be ultra greedy, and every single time, we ended up with our treasure hunts and Reliquary Towers because of our greed. And most of those times, under the current mulligan rule, we would have had unplayable hands. We would have mulliganed into a situation where our deck did literally nothing. But because of the new mulligan rule, giving us those 7 cards hands, we were able to extremely greedily mulligan for 2 specific combo pieces, Treasure Hunt, Reliquary Tower, and in a very small sample size, it was working out every single time. And that is the power of the rule. And remember, this is a janky example. It's a really good example because you're mulliganing for these 2 specific cards. But imagine that instead of Treasure Hunt and Reliquary Tower, you were doing this with, let's say, Goryo's Vengeance, Grizzlebrad, or Goryo's Vengeance, Faithless Looting, or Electro Dominance, Restore Balance, or whatever, Electro Dominance, Living End. Insert 2-card combo that doesn't cost much mana here. It would be working out the same way. So that is the impact of the London mulligan rule. And I think that's an underrated aspect of it that hasn't been talked about a lot, is it's not so much that it gives you more functional opening hands, although it does, but it allows you to be really greedy and to often be paid off for that greed, especially if you're playing these decks that only care about a couple of specific cards. You can mulligan very, very aggressively under this rule if you're only looking for a specific card or 2-card combo. Another example of this that I forgot to mention, Blood Moon, Simian Spirit Guide, or Blood Moon and a Ritual, Blood Moon Land, Simian Spirit Guide. Those are the kind of hands that you're going to see very often under this rule. So, I don't know. Based on this test, obviously a janky test with a small sample size, it seems like this rule is going to have a big impact. Maybe Treasure Hunt gets better, although obviously there's still risk with this combo. Our opponent could Thought Seize us. Our opponent could have a counter spell when we go to play our Zombie Infestation. Our opponent could Spell Snare our Treasure Hunt. And if any of those things happen, we pretty much auto-lose. And there's not really much we can do about it because we're all in on that one Treasure Hunt. That's pretty much the same with Treasure Hunt always, though, under any mulligan rule. So that part doesn't really change, but our nut draws, our dream draws, our Reliquary Tower Treasure Hunt draws, the odds of that happening seem to go up pretty significantly under the new mulligan rule, at least in our small sample. So anyway, that's Zombie Hunt. That's the London mulligan rule in action. Let me know what you think. What is your impression of this test? Obviously, again, a janky small sample size test, but I was pretty impressed by how consistent the new mulligan rule makes a Zombie Hunt. And if it makes Zombie Hunt consistent, imagine what it does with actual consistent powerful decks rather than ultra janky budget decks. So anyway, that's been our Brewers Minute for this week, testing the London mulligan rule. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.